Happy birthday if it's your birthday. Happy belated birthday if it's in the past. Happy future birthday if it's in the future. My name is Lime Green, and welcome back to the Out of Time podcast for Majora's Mask. But we're not talking about Majora's Mask this time. Now you might be saying, I'm Green. Why is this the Out of Time podcast for Majora's Mask if we're not talking about Majora's Mask? Well, throughout our playthrough and talking about Majora's Mask, there was a couple games that stopped me from playing Majora's Mask. Tears of the Kingdom being one of them. So, I gathered up 9 games that I was playing throughout my experiences. And we're going to talk about them in the Majora's Mask finale here. They are Splatoon 1 and 3. 1 through 3, rather. Pikmin 1 and 2. Metal Gear Solid, the first one. Hitman, Blood Money, Reprisal, Alisa, and finally, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. So, we're going to talk about each of them, what I liked, what I didn't like, just my overall thoughts of them. We did this on like a little smaller scale in the Mega Man Battle Network finale. Couldn't say that. And yeah, be a little fun time reminiscing on all these games. I feel like we should start with Tears of the Kingdom, which I was playing around the release day. I played it when it came out, and I was like, oh, I don't want to play Majora's Mask anymore. And then I kind of had to sit down and play Majora's Mask. And then when I finished Majora's Mask, I went back to Tears of the Kingdom, and I was like, bro, I don't want to play Tears of the Kingdom. I want to play Majora's Mask. What a great game that is. So, really, I don't know what I want. Really, that's what I'm saying. So, I think before we really get in the meat and potatoes of Tears of the Kingdom, we gotta talk about Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword, people didn't like it because it was too handholdy, too formulaic. And then Breath of the Wild came out, and then that's why I think Breath of the Wild is a perfect game. It improved on Skyward Sword in all the ways people wanted it to. You could go anywhere. You could do pretty much anything. Anything people had a problem with in Skyward Sword, boom, Breath of the Wild had the answer. Now, the problems people had with Breath of the Wild were they didn't like the weapon breaking mechanic. I thought it was pretty ingenious. You break a weapon, it requires you to pick up another one. I'll slide in here with I beat Master Mode. Did not beat Master Mode with the Trial of the Sword, but it's neither here nor there. But in Tears of the Kingdom, they kind of alleviate that problem by letting you fuse with, your weapons with whatever material you can find. That's a pretty ingenious idea, I believe. Tears of the Kingdom also has, it continues the, I'm not sure what you'd call this timeline, like the wild timeline. It continues the tradition of everyone looking adorable. Just adorable. Link, Zelda, Mifa, Kira. No complaints. Some problems people had were the weird partner configuration. In this game, you get like the descendants of the champions from this game, or like, I guess descendants is a good word. And instead of like having a button on them to summon them, you have to, like, they're there and you just have to press A on them. I agree with that. But I don't agree with, like, just not having them there. They still shoot arrows or whatever. Poke people with a spear. It's nice you can at least turn it off, I guess. For the people that want it, I guess. Because I was late to the party on playing this game, or finishing it, I was spoiled like I was on Mario Odyssey. I was spoiled on Zelda, spoiler, draconifying herself, and she becomes a dragon, the light dragon, and I was like, oh geez, this is like real business. And then I guess we'll get into the final battle. There's like, you face Ganon, or Ganondorf rather, and he has like a bunch of phases. And then your friends are like, oh man, we'll fight this horde for you. And then you fight Ganondorf, and how I found was I had a hover stone I put up in there, I jumped off, and then I just hit him with a bunch of arrows in like the Matrix phase or whatever you want to call that. And that was like the only way I could see myself beating him. And then your friends come back and they help you for the next phase, and then they go away, and then you have to do Light Dragon versus his Dark Dragon phase alone, which I haven't seen this complaint. I don't know, I'm not really looking for discussions on this game yet, but why the partners go out and then you take them away from us, and then they go out and help us again. That seemed a little hand wavy. I don't know. Either give it to us or take them away, Nintendo. I thought originally when I started the game, I was like, all right, there's 4 areas. This is gonna be like Breath of the Wild. I started off in the Rito tribe, like I did in Breath of the Wild. And then I think I did Zora, Gerudo, Goron, I think. And then I'm like, alright, we just go towards Ganon's castle, and then that'll be it, right? So we go up there, and then Zelda's there, and then she's like, I'm mind controlled. I'm like, alright, we just beat Ganon and you'll stop being mind controlled. That's not what happens. Uh-oh. There's like 4 Ganondorfs coming out, and then I'm over here shooting arrows everywhere. It's a crazy battle. It feels like a final battle, and then it turns out that's not it. That was the part of the game. Like, I was spoiled on the Zelda Dragon stuff, but I'm so glad that I wasn't spoiled on that part of the game. I was like, whoa, you gotta jump into the depths. Spoiler, spoiler. And and the depths, like, add a layer to this game. No pun intended. They actually play a part of the story. There's a 5th champion, Minoru, and she's like an cyborg android, and you got control of her, like walking around. It's crazy. There's a boxing fight. Like, I think if it was just the 4 champions and then save Zelda, I feel like I would have been a little underwhelmed. Question mark. But just because of that, I feel like it elevated this game up a little bit. And then, once you beat Ganondorf as a dragon, then finally you... Or, what happens? Zelda transforms back into Zelda as a girl. And then your hand transforms back into a regular hand. If I had to nitpick, and if I had to write for Nintendo, I would not do that. I don't know. I feel like how do I say this? I feel like the game would have a lot more weight to it if Zelda would remain a dragon and Link would just have Rauru's arm. You know? I don't know. If you know, you know, you know. The next game we're going to be talking about is not Splatoon 3, not Splatoon 2, but the original Splatoon on Wii U. Nintendo didn't even call them Nintendo Directs back then. They called them digital events. Splatoon was showed off alongside Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Mario Maker still wasn't called Super Mario Maker, Bayonetta 2 was there, and Splatoon was shown off for the first time. It was just a puddle of goo, orange goo. We're all like, look at that Nickelodeon game. And then all of a sudden a squid hopped out, started spraying ink all over. That was the point of the game. You spray ink all over the place, and then you look at the gamepad and you go, oh, you gotta go over here. Spray ink over here. Spray ink over there. And then once you have enough ink all over the place, have more ink than your opponent all over the place, you win. This crazy, creative game captured our minds and hearts. It's just what the Wii U needed. I cannot emphasize enough. Super Mario Maker, Splatoon, those carried the Wii U on its backs. Splatoon also, you know, when you load it up, I almost forgot about this. There's a little apartment, and then that kind of carried over to the Splatoon 3 lockers. We still don't have apartments in Splatoon. I just had to slip that in there somewhere. Real Splatoon heads know what I'm talking about. Splatoon 1 starts off with Callie and Marie. They give 2 different ideas. Cats or dogs, roller coasters or water slides, Autobots or Decepticons. And then you have to put yourself in one of those 2 camps and fight till the bitter end. Splatoon also, I guess, goes against the grain at the time, where it was like a lot of games, third-person shooters, were like focusing more on the multiplayer aspect, not so much on the single-player aspect. Splatoon's like, we'll give you all of it. And it was all good. Not to mention, they kept updating the game. Gave us Clam Blitz. Now, whether Clam Blitz is good or not, that's up for debate. Is it up for debate? Who are you? Now, I might have skipped over this a little bit. Jumping back to the beginning of Splatoon. Splatoon's also I can think of the first game that released with like a test fire of sorts. It would later go on and be like, oh, the arms test punch. The Pokken test kick or whatever it was called. That really kicked things off, and I was there. I was all for Splatoon from the very beginning. This was the first game I pre-ordered. Nowadays, pre-ordering things is kind of frowned upon, but I wanted in on Splatoon. From the moment I set foot on Salt Spray Rig, I was in for it. Nowadays, Splatoon 1, it's kind of ripped apart now that the online's gone. The Miiverse aspect, the online aspect, it's just a shell. I'm all for remaking or preserving this game in like a memory in Splatoon 4 or remake or whatever it may be. But there are a couple of things that Splatoon has over 2 and 3. Again, the Splatfest. This game had Pokemon Red versus Blue. I'm looking at the other Splatfests. I do not see a Pokemon one. No. This one had SpongeBob versus Patrick. The other one had the TMNT. And this one, Splatoon 1 also had Autobots versus Decepticons. Like, I feel like you could do multiple things with like the same franchise, which kind of like a missed opportunity, Yeah. And then another big thing in Splatoon 1 was like the Amiibo minigames. Like the 8-bit minigames. When they first showed off multiplayer, it seemed like there's more ideas they could have done with the 8-bit minigames that they didn't do. I don't know. Left on the cutting room floor somewhere. I don't know. Maybe when Splatoon gets revisited, we'll see more. And the third thing was the Squid Girl crossover with the Squid Kid Agent 3 thing. You could wear Squid Girl's outfit in Splatoon 1, which did not come back in Splatoon 2 or 3, which was bizarre. I'm a big fan of the anime Squid Girl, and my soul was shattered when it did not come back. Hashtag bring Squid Girl back. Let's get trending. I don't know. Let's move on to Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 kind of continues where Splatoon 1 left off. Marie won the final Splatfest of Splatoon 1. I voted for Marie. Would I go back and change that? Maybe after seeing everything that happened in Splatoon 2. Callie has gone missing, and you kind of have to find her. It turns out, after a couple years, Callie has been brainwashed by DJ Octavio, and now Callie is the big bad, and you have to defeat her and DJ Octavio, and it's a crazy story. Instead of Agent 3, you're playing as Agent 4, and I think that's one of the reasons why I continue to be a fan of Splatoon. They do what I want from Pokemon, to have a ongoing story, how do I put this into words? The characters age, the story gets continually added with new characters, and characters come back, and it's like, whoa, remember that guy? He's a cool guy. In Pokemon, it's like, well, here's a new area. There's a new guy. Sometimes it's like, remember that guy moments, but they're always usually the same age. Ash never gets older, But, Splatoon's a nice change of pace from that, I guess. Other than that, the Octo expansion really shook things up, I feel, in all of Splatoon media. Pearl and Marina are the two new idols in Splatoon 2. That's the word. And I think up until that point, people were unsure what to feel about Pearl and Marina. And then in the Octo expansion, you play as Agent 8, an Octoling who's trying to get to the surface. In Splatoon 1 and 2, it's you're fighting Octolings, and then in Octo expansion, the DLC, it's it flips everything on its head. Suddenly it's you're dealing with, racism, and it's you're fighting against the man. Suddenly you're fighting Commander Tartar, this telephone from a old world humanity trying to rise back up, because Splatoon is set in a post-apocalyptic world, like Pikmin. And not only that, but Octo expansion turns everything on its head, because it's each little area is you're doing different tasks for Sea Cucumber, which is this devilish cucumber in which he strapped like an ink bomb on your back. And he's like, all right, now you go into this room and you have to shoot this magic 8-ball up this ramp. And if you knock the ramp, or if you knock the ball off the ramp, I'll detonate this ink bomb. And you'll be blown to ink bits. It was a good way to turn Splatoon on its head. And it's only been like 2 games, which is crazy. The best game, by far, is a DLC. So let's move into... Well, hold on. And then we go into the final fight against Commander Tartar. And then we hear Fly Octo Fly. It's like, whoa. And then you destroy Commander Tartar, and he's on the Statue of Liberty looking thing. And it's like, whoa, you just destroyed humanity's last hope. And you're feeling fine. And then, and not only that, but then you have an Inner Agent 3 fight where you have to fight the first, like the main guy who you were playing as from the first game. That's like in Pokemon. Let's reference Pokemon again. You have to fight Red. They have a Red fight in Octo expansion. That's so cool. Okay, now with all that, let's move into Splatoon 3. It's kind of controversial to release another Splatoon game on the same console, people were thinking. I wasn't so sure. The big thing is bow and arrow. I wasn't a big fan of bow and arrow. People were like, oh, bow and arrow. Splatana. I was like, all right, cool. Whatever. You play as new Agent 3. Because, Agent 3, they're the captain of the Squidbeak platoon or whatever. That's big ups for them. The idols this time are Shiver, Fry, and Big Man. And now, in between Octo expansion and Splatoon 3, people were theorizing about what could happen in Splatoon 3. And a lot of the theories thrown about were Mr. Grizz from Salmon Run. Because he is, just a bear statue. They're like, there's more to it than that. And, I was kind of on board with that. And then, so you jump into Splatoon 3's main campaign. And it turns out Shiver, Fry, Big Man, they're villains. That's a neat little twist. They're part of Team Rocket. Also, hold on, let's reverse it a little bit. The main, or the final, what am I saying? The final Splatfest of Splatoon 2 was Chaos versus Order. And we all were like, oh man, this is going to have a big impact on Splatoon 3. I picked Order. The winning vote was Chaos. And I was a little upset. I wanted an all-robot type game. And then we got like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max type game. Whatever. You know my view on deserts. They're kind of boring. And then they continue going on with Splatfest in 2020. Mayo versus ketchup, chicken versus egg, trick versus treat, super mushroom versus superstar. That's our, I understand why they did that. Thank you, Splatoon 2. But now we jump into Splatoon 3 properly. Splatoon 3 had a lot to live up to, especially against Octo expansion. In my eyes, the first area, it's just like a dust bowl. And then you go up against DJ Octavio, and you fall into like Alterna. That was like a big thing. I was like, bro, if this is all desert, I will have hated it. Thank goodness. Thank you, Splatoon devs. What was the place? Hold on. The town? I hate the town name. What's the town name? Splat Town? I hate Splat Town. I'm giving you points for Alterna. I'm taking them away for Splat Town. Think back to the campaign of Splatoon 3. You fall down into Alterna, and you see the new Squidbeak Splatoon, not the Splatoon. The Splatoon, the name of the game, I guess. Callie Murray, Captain Cuttlefish, and Agent 3, who's the leader, and you're new Agent 3. You guys have to explore this winter wonderland, and there's like hairy, fuzzy goo everywhere, turning people into like mammalians, and you have little buddy who's like a salmonid, and that kind of like gets people campaigning for Splatoon 4, maybe having the salmonid representation. I don't know. But as you explore Alterna, you can see the representation, representation of the Octo expansion. How they did little tests of your jumping prowess, and can you shoot this target? Move the 8-ball. It's all kind of here, and people love Octo expansion. This is kind of similar. I like it. Doesn't. I don't know how to say it kind of feels the same. At the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's hard to put in words. Instead of sea cucumber, you have orca, ORCA. Maybe without sea cucumber it doesn't feel like as crazy, or maybe without Agent 8. I don't know. Just something doesn't feel right. I don't know. Eventually you track down the cause of the fuzzy ooze to, I'm like gesturing, Mr. Grizz, the person we theorized about back in the Splatoon 2 days. He's trying to turn everyone into, or trying to cause the rise of the mammalians. Kind of like Commander Tartar in Splatoon 2. Octo expansion, this is kind of like Octo expansion 2, I guess. Eventually, you just kind of beat him up. The final battle is like a bear in space on a rocket. I don't know how more crazy you can get for a final battle. But at the same time, it kind of takes it away A little bit. A little bit. You know, I mean, if we already predicted. But I'll give you this. You make back up for it when, oh my gosh, after Alterna comes back in, and it's a campaign where after you beat Mr. Grizz, it's a really hard campaign where you have to beat it all with limited checkpoints. This is their response to the Inner Agent 3 fight. It's pretty difficult. And then afterwards you get, I think you get the bear ears or something, and then you get a little splash tag. That was pretty good for me. I was pretty content after Alterna. And then they released DLC Side Order, which was their like little way of saying, Order guys, you guys might have lost, but here's a little taste of Order, I guess. It's like a roguelike where you fight to the top of the tower and you got beat a boss and then go back all the way down and then, beat him again with a different weapon. How do I start this? Alright. So in Splatoon 1 and 2, I was completely fine with playing each area with different weapons. I 100%ed each level with every weapon. Splatoon 3 got a little hectic. Side Order, that they kind of want you to do that. To see the whole story between Oct, Marina's old friend. Also, you play as Agent 8 again. Fan favorite. And Pearl is a drone. And Marina made this AI, which is crazy, like that you fight against in a simulation. It's a little crazy, to say the least. If I would want one thing, I feel like I only want one thing, is more... Alright, two things. More things to change between each repetition. Because there's only 3 mini-bosses, you quickly find out. Maybe like more variation on that. And then more things people say. Because Smallest only says like so many things. Besides that, you got a pretty solid campaign going on here. You could have released this on as like a separate game. You kind of did, but you know what I mean. Side Order is it's good, but I would not put it on the same level as Octo Expand. Well, hold on, I'm thinking. With... If there was a Side Order 2 where it just like... If it was examined under a microscope and a couple things were changed, I might I might like it more than Octo expansion. Final thing I want to touch on with Splatoon 3 was the final big Splatfest between past, present, and future. I voted personally for Team Past. Let me tell you why. Team Future, I can see them being more like what we almost had with Order. And I voted for Order. Team Present just seems like more of the same, like whatever. And Team Past, I feel like gives us like a window into the world of Splatoon 1. Now that the Wii U is kaput, I feel like that just opens up the door to tons and tons of possibilities. Like a campaign or a side campaign that's just the Splatoon 1 campaign. That would be pretty interesting. Because some people have not played Splatoon 1, which is kind of mind-boggling. People have not bought a Wii U. Shocking, I know. But that's why I vote for Team Pass 1. And I'm interested to see what happens in Splatoon 4. Next game, moving along here, is Pikmin. The original Pikmin got a re-release, remaster thing. As you know, I'm a big, as the Pikmin music kicks in, I'm a big Pikmin fan. I think the original is pretty good. Pretty solid game. If you do not know, the first game starts off, you are Captain Olimar, you're flying in your ship, and all of a sudden an asteroid hits your ship, and you just wake up on a planet, and the planet's filled with oxygen, and you're like, oh geez, I can't breathe oxygen. So you have 30 days to try and escape this planet before you just die. And you find these little plant guys to try and help you. And that's the whole game. The Pikmin help you try and build up your spaceship, the Dolphin, and as you, I guess, venture throughout the days, you get better and better, and you get faster and faster rebuilding the ship, and you become, or like to become, better at controlling your Pikmin. You go, hey, maybe I shouldn't throw the red Pikmin into the water. Maybe I shouldn't run with my entire squad into the battle, And the thing about the Pikmin series I like is, there's some enemies that are like kind of hidden off the beaten path, and you can find them yourself, or you don't even need to find them at all. And also it's kind of good for replayability. You have 30 days to find 30 ship parts, and you want to replay the game to see, hey, can I beat it in 20 days, 15 days, How fast can I actually do it? This game has multiple endings. 3, in fact. One where you get off the planet with all 30 ship parts with the help of your Pikmin. The second is where you get 25 ship parts, minusing the 5 that are not needed. And the last ending is where you miss a ship part that is needed, or a couple shipwrights that are needed, and you try to launch your dolphin, and it does not go well, and you crash back onto the surface of the planet and get turned into a Pikmin yourself. Speaking of Pikmin endings, let's end this segment and turn into the next game, Pikmin 2. That's my segment. Or segue, rather. So Pikmin 2 kind of continues right where the last one left off, where Olimar escapes with a treasure he found from the planet, and he's like, look at all this stuff I found. And the president of his company is like, wowee, let's go there. And then they go there and they get a bunch of random stuff from the planet because their company is in debt, because their one of their employees, Louis, ate a bunch of carrots. So you gotta lower the debt. So Pikmin 2 in recent years has gotten a lot of flack for a couple of things, but I think Pikmin 2 stands above the rest. Let me tell you why. It's got purples and whites. It's got Bulb Mitten, which have not reappeared in this series. I didn't even mention Pikmin 1 had Mushroom or Puff Stool Pikmin, which don't even really count, in my opinion. People put it on their Pikmin tier list. It's like a technicality type deal. But Pikmin 2 has caves, which are like spelunky type deals where you go in and like the entire level is like randomized, and it's like, uh-oh, where are we going? Where are these enemies at? We're trying to get treasure here, and everything is out to get you. That's the best part. It's just you, your Pikmin, and your sharp wit, and your know-how. I don't know, your skill. You gotta try and survive all the way to the boss and then take them out. The bosses here are perhaps one of the most memorable in the entire series. There's a reason why they brought a ton of these bosses back in Pikmin 4. They call Pikmin 4 Pikmin 2. There's the Man at Legs, the Water Wraith. There's, I don't even know, the Empress Ball Blacks. The Emperor makes his return in this game, but he's a lot smaller. Oh, I don't even know. Like, where to begin? There's like the million beady long legs, like clones. There's, what's his name? Like the Armored Mawdad. I think that's his name. There's the Titaned Weevil. Like, I can be here all day. There's the giant bread bug. Pikmin 2 is peak. It's Pikmin, and it's peak GameCube. You've gotta experience it if you haven't. Also, if you were talking about the treasure at the end of the game where you have to lift the treasure with 100 purples, let me tell you, that ain't nothing that ain't nothing, because that's like a victory lap. Because, you know, you beat the game, and then it's like, oh, one more thing. How about you, just make all these purples and lift that? You know, it's like a, how would you say that? It's like a Nintendo Direct. It's like a one more thing type deal. That's how I'd describe that. The next game we're going to be talking about is Metal Gear Solid. This is one of those games. This game and the next game we're going to be talking about, Hitman Blood Money. I think it was Hitman Blood Money. It was one of the Hitman. It was one of those games that I was sitting and watching my dad play. And, you know, he was one of those people that got me into playing video games. And, you know, Metal Gear is one of those games, series that, you know, it's kind of surprising almost how do I want to say this? How intricate it is. You know, some of those puzzles, it's like, look on the back of the box. Unplug controller 2. Or unplug your controller, put it into controller slot 2. It's like, wowee. They're thinking of this back in the 90s or whatever. Big stuff. Big stuff, Kojima. People sing the praises of specifically Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 now, I think. But I hear some praises for Metal Gear Solid 1 nowadays, here and there. As I said before, I never really played much of this game. Or at all. You know, a little here and there. I've watched it. But I always really wondered. I was like, how do people know where to go in this game? Just watching this game at a distance. But the codec calls really, I guess, fine-tune that. You can always be like, hey, where do I go? You know, what's going on? And also, I want to mention this. I got a bad ending, I guess. I didn't save Meryl. I didn't know there's multiple endings. That's kind of crazy. I thought, first off, I thought there was one ending. And second off, I thought, you know, you'd just be able to save Meryl. That was crazy. But I got an ending where it's like me and Otacon just hanging out in the snow and we like watch a moose or something. I don't know, that was kooky. When I was a wee one, I would watch this game and I would be like, oh man, you know, hiding from people running around, you know, I want a game like that. And whenever I would get games, I would be like trying to do Metal Gear like things, because, you know, there's stealth in games like that, and, you know, nothing ever like lived up to that. And, you know, now that I play an actual Metal Gear Solid game, you know, I'm like, wowee, there's a lot of mechanics and intricacies, you know, with the footprints and the vision cones. You know what other series has similar mechanics? Hitman. Specifically, Hitman Blood Money Reprisal. Oh, well, before we jump in, I was playing it, Metal Gear Solid, on the MGS Master Collection, Volume 1, and that was It wasn't as bad as people were saying. Konami, like, was updating the game as I want, and I say it wasn't as bad as I want, and then I remembered I got up to a fight with Gray Fox, and the game would just stop existing at a certain point. So it's fixed now. It's fixed now. But it was still pretty good. Now, jumping back to Hitman, if you've never played a game in the series, you play as Agent 47, a hitman, and the goal is you basically go from level to level, taking out specific people, grabbing specific documents, and trying to be seen as less as possible. That's basically it. You gotta go to bayous, you gotta go to like Washington DC. You gotta go to I don't even know, like super extravagant parties, Mardi Gras, like all sorts of grand events with tons of people looking every sorts of ways, and you just have to blend in the best you can and pretend like nothing's going on. You gotta blend into society as a bald man, and then you got to wear costumes and stuff. You can try and do it like as pacifist as possible. They give you a lot of options. I feel like there's newer Hitman games, and I feel like those give you more options. I was actually a little let down by how many options they gave you in this game. Maybe I didn't wrap my head around as many things as they gave me. I don't know. They gave me the option to like take hostages or whatever, and I don't know, like, you know, dress up and like all that. But I just found it easy to like, you know, pretend to be someone and then like go around, you know, shoot, and then pretend to be someone else, shoot, you know, that whole thing. And then like when they start getting nervous of you, just, you know, put on a different outfit. That's probably like the most inefficient. Also, elevators in this game are like super OP. You can just hide in an elevator forever, and then people gather in the elevator, and then you just crawl down from the elevator shaft. I discovered that super early. I think the crowning jewel of this game, though, is the final level. Also, Crispin Freeman is in this game. I recognize him immediately. I don't recognize actors or voice actors very often, but Crispin Freeman, the moment he started talking, I'm like, there you are. I honed in on him with my echolocation. I'm like, Crispin, I see you, my guy. Final level. All throughout the game, people say, man, they don't have really a good story. After playing this, I'm like, I can kind of see what you're getting at. I was trying to follow along best I could. But they're trying to like track down Agent 47 and kill him. Final level. Also, I was amazed at how many levels there were. Just saying. They packed the levels in there. Final level. They put Hitman, Agent 47, in a coffin and like lower him down while the credits roll. And you're like, wowee, what a game. And then that's it. And then it says game over. You're like, what? Am I supposed to be doing something? So you start it up again, and then it's like, hit a button or something. I don't know. You gotta be doing something. You gotta be like rolling the control stick or something. I don't know. It's been a while. And you start doing that, and all of a sudden you see like your health going up, and you're like, what? This is a level? The credits are a level? And all of a sudden, Agent 47, he gets up, and like everyone is watching him because they're watching him get lowered into the ground, and they put these 2 guns on his chest. So he gets up and grabs the guns, and he goes, psh, 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 psh. It's the craziest level or end level to a game I can imagine. You play the credits. It's like Splatoon. The Splatoon credits in a crazy way. You get all my respect for the credits in this game. Hitman Blood Money Reprisal devs. That's a crazy name of a game. But yeah, it was a good game. If this is the game that I remember my dad playing, then I only really remembered 2 levels, You Better Watch Out and Flatline. But other than that, I don't remember anything else from this game. Or didn't remember anything else, rather. Which I guess leads us into the final game, which has nothing to do with anything else besides it also being a third-person shooter. And the game I'm referring to, of course, is Alisa, a game that started on Kickstarter, but I didn't see it until much later. I saw it on the Nintendo eShop. I would have helped out on Kickstarter if I would have seen it there. This game wears its inspirations on its sleeve, paying homage to games like Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil. So you might be saying, oh, I love Resident Evil 7. I love Resident Evil 8. I'm gonna love this game. Let me just say, this game will kick your butt if you're thinking that. It takes homage to the classic Resident Evils. It's got fixed camera angles. It's got tank controls. When I was playing the demo, let me just say, I fell in love with this game just from the trailer. And then I played the demo, and I'm like, alright, it's got tank controls. And I got really sad, because I immediately didn't see any other control scheme. There's another one, but it's not traditional all the way. It's weird, but I still recommend this game. The hardest part of this game is the combat, I'll say. This game does a lot of good things right. One of those being the visuals. Right now, I implore you to go and watch a trailer of some sort, or just Google image search Alisa and then type in game, and then look at all these images on your screen. They look like a lost game from the 90s. It's so cool. And this is an indie game too. It's amazing. So you might be asking, what's the story? You are Alisa, and you are basically trying to track down this thief. You're, I guess, a royal guard or something, and you're trying to track down this thief who stole like these plans from the emperor, I think he is, and that takes you into a dollhouse. And you enter the dollhouse, and there's dolls all around you, and you're like, how did I get here? And the voice acting is very intentional. Like, they know what Resident Evil fans want. And you have to fight off killer dolls. They got the zombie turning around shot, except it's a doll. Like I said, the combat could be better, but once you get Alisa's saber and get good with it, it's over. It's over for any enemy that comes close. There's a secret like blocking system that if an enemy comes at you, you can just like reflect their attacks back at you or back at them, and it's really good. There's also an intricate, like Resident Evil, you want to save your ammo, but in this game, when enemies die, they drop little cogs. They're called tooth wheels in this game. So you want to collect as many as you can, give them to the salesman. They have like a Resident Evil 4 merchant, except he's a puppet in this game. And he's like, well, I'll trade you things, dresses and weapons for tooth wheels. And the option to save. So you gotta be like, oh man, do I want bullets? Or do I want to save? Or like a med kit, because med kits cost tooth wheels. It's wild. There's a bunch of other things that this game does wild. I mentioned Resident Evil 7 before, where, well, I mentioned Resident Evil 8 before. I got them confused. Pardon me. There's someone chasing you around, a giant woman doll, Barbara, and you just have to kind of know when she's coming, or else she'll grab you and pull you down into the nether world. There's this one, I gotta read my notes for this. This is like the craziest thing I ever did. Alright. Alright, so you enter this one room, and it's dark, right? And you enter this pool swimming area, and you're swimming around, and then you realize it's a maze, and then you have to navigate it in the dark. Not to mention there are skeletons who roam the maze, and they can drag you under as you try and swim past. Don't forget that saving requires tooth wheels. That was like the craziest thing I ever did in a video game. And I was trying to do it, and then it took me so long, and I did it over and over and over and over again. And then that's the lead up to a boss. And I'm like, brother, how do you do this? And turns out you can just attack the skeletons in the water. Even though you're swimming, that didn't connect with me for some reason, but I was like, holy. There's multiple endings, New Game Plus content. This game has it all. You can be the Queen of Dolls, depending on your ending. I just went the normal ending. Like I said, this game is hard, but good, I guess. Well-deserved game once you get good. Another strat. Don't. Well, I'm checking if anybody's listening. Alright. A secret strat you can do is when you have the saber and when you get down to the underground rooms, there's a pool room. If you take off your dress down to your undergarments, you can swim in the pool area and that'll heal some health. That way you can kind of heal some health without buying any med kits. You didn't hear that from me. So that's my secret Alisa guide. My secret Alisa thoughts, I guess. And my thoughts on every other game. This podcast episode has been a million years long. What did you think of Alisa, Metal Gear Solid, Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon 1, Splatoon 3, Octo expansion, Side Order, After Alterna, and Blood Money, Hitman, Blood Money Reprisal? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.